Hey guys, it's Keegan. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to be doing a sorority Q&A. I asked you guys on my Instagram to ask me literally every single question that you guys have about sorority recruitment, sorority life, the events, how it's going to be this year, everything. And you guys asked me a ton of questions. This video will probably have to have a part 2 to it because I'm going to answer a ton of them. I already have them picked out. Today, I kind of decided that I am just not going to sugarcoat anything. A lot of the times, me and a lot of people on YouTube, I see just kind of like put like a pretty little bow on things and put it in this pretty package, and it's not always like that. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. That's how it's gonna go. We just won't sugarcoat it today. And it was never my intention to sugarcoat it, but sometimes it just happens, you know what I mean? But I'm not. Also, I have 2 giveaways going on right now. I have one on my Instagram. I have an Urban Outfitters gift card giveaway, and then I have a school supplies giveaway. So if you guys want to enter either of those, I will have all that stuff down below for you to check it out. We're gonna get into the questions. First one says, what are the requirements to get into a sorority, and do you have to pay to be in a sorority? Yes, you do have to pay. My school, you pay semester dues. Dues are the amount of money that you owe. I think there's another question in here asking specifically about dues, so like I'll answer how much I pay when I get to that question. Some schools do it by terms if your school's on a term system. And then the requirements to get into a sorority, a lot of sororities have a GPA requirement. I would say your high school GPA is actually pretty important. If you're rushing as a sophomore, your college GPA matters more than your high school GPA. And then you have to go through the recruitment process. Fall and spring are different at my school. Spring is more like informal coffee dates, meeting a few girls. Fall recruitment is formal recruitment at my school, at least. I go to Arizona State. It's kind of like an interview process. Basically how it is, you meet all the houses, then you narrow it down to the few houses, then you narrow it down to the few houses, and you narrow it down to 2, and then you pick one. It's kind of like an upside down triangle, and it's basically like a mutual selection process, which basically means you like them, you ask for them back. They like you, they ask for you back. Someone said, what's one piece of advice that like no one mentioned / no one told you that's super helpful? I would recommend finding something that makes you stand out as an answer to a question that you're going to get asked a lot. So questions that you get asked a lot are always, what's your major? Why did you choose it? Why did you decide to come to this college? Are you the first in your family to go Greek? Things like that. My thing that made me stood out, YouTube, hello, hi. And so whenever they'd ask me what my major was and why I chose it, I'd be like, oh, digital marketing is my major. You know, I do YouTube, and then I really fell in love with it and the topic of YouTube. And I would recommend finding something you're passionate about and being able to talk about it and kind of like slide that into those answers. Kind of not manipulate the conversation, but get the conversation in your favor. This is the question that I was asked so much, and I was definitely, I wanted to answer it. Do you think it'll be worth it to rush this semester? I'm going to just be very honest with you, and I feel like a lot of people are going to get mad at me for this answer, but I'm just going to be honest. I feel like I have to like disclaimer this. This is not my recommendation. This is just like if I were to go through it, I would not rush the semester. Again, this is me talking on my behalf. I'm the kind of person where I want everything to be special. First, everything needs to be so special. So in a sorority, you have a lot of firsts. You have like your new member meeting, your first date party, your first social, you have your first sisterhood, you have all this stuff. Those events are being canceled. Either they're not going to happen, they're going to be online. Best case scenario, they'll be in small groups, which I don't know how likely that is. My sorority pretty much canceled every single event we have going on this semester besides Zoom chapter once a week. And new member dues, I'll get into talking about dues later. New member dues are more expensive than active dues because you have to pay for like your new member retreat, your pin, your new member booklet, things like that. Like there's a bunch of like extra fees that go into being a new member. You're paying more that semester and you don't get anything. And I think the thing that I would really struggle with is, how do you make friends? I met a lot of the people like walking in groups to our new member meetings or at socials or at chapter, and if all of those social events are being taken away from a social club, essentially a sorority is a social club, but like that is what it is. How are you going to meet people? Like, are you just going to be FaceTiming people all the time? How is Big Little gonna work? Can you even do Big Little baskets? There's COVID. What if your Big was sick and then she gave you COVID from the basket? Is reveal going to be on Zoom? Like, are they going to cover the camera and be like, surprise, hello? I just feel like a lot of special events will be taken away. You'll probably still have to pay more. I have no idea how much new member dues will be. Honestly, they have not released our dues yet because they're changing them because COVID. I just feel like a lot of the things that make being in a sorority special and a lot of the things that make being a new member special are being taken away from you. I just don't think that you'll have the experience that you wanted to have, in all honesty. Hey, editing this video right now. I do want to say though, I never had my graduation taken away. I didn't have my senior prom. I didn't have anything taken away from me as a high schooler. If you had all that taken away and you've accepted that you will be having these events taken away and that it won't be as special, but you're like, you know what, I've already had so much taken away away from me, I'm okay with it. I say go for it. This is just my perspective. I never had anything taken away from me like you guys did. Keep that in mind as well. On the flip side, if you want that sisterhood, if you don't really care that your events are being taken away, if you don't really care that you won't be seeing people face to face and you will be like making that extra effort to be meeting people online and to be like FaceTiming them and like texting in the group chat, I say go for it. You just have to be realistic about what you're getting into. I just feel like for me, too much has been taken away to pay that amount of money that you have to pay when you're a new member. If you wait to rush, a lot of sororities don't do spring recruitment, and if they do, they don't take a ton of people. Your odds of getting into a house are very small in spring recruitment. And then if you wait till your sophomore year to rush fall recruitment, if everyone is deciding to do that, there's going to be the whole new pool of freshmen and then a whole pool of sophomores bigger than normal. So it's going to be a lot more competitive to get into a sorority next year. So that is also something that you need to keep in mind. So there's a lot of factors, and I just recommend playing out the pros and cons in your head of like, is this worth it? Is the money worth it? Will I put in the effort? And then make that decision for yourself. Don't let me make that decision for you. That was like the longest answer ever. I am so sorry, but I just felt like there was a lot to go into that. Someone asked, does everyone get into a sorority? Yes and no. Technically, you could be dropped by every single house first round. I've never met a person who has been dropped from every single house for first round. If you have a really low GPA, that might be the reason if you actually do. But if you go to preference and you do not single intentional preference, which means when you're in preference, you have two houses, you put them in order. You're like, I want this house first, and if I don't get them, I want this house. If you only say, I want this house, I don't want this house at all, you might not get a house. But if you say, I want this house or I want this house, you'll get one or the other, but you will definitely get a house. Someone said, what questions should we be asking sorority girls? Since it's going to be on Zoom recruitment and it's not going to be in person, you won't be able to visibly see their sister, like see how they interact with each other. You want to see, is this sisterhood fake? Is this real? Asking them what they do with their sisters for fun. If they have any funny stories, like try to see, is this sisterhood real, and try to get a grasp for it. Like if they can automatically tell you a funny story or like automatically tell you what they do for fun, good sign. If they're like, you have to think about it, it might be a bad sign. Someone said, is recruitment scary? I think it can definitely be overwhelming. It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's one of those things where you're putting yourself in this situation to get rejected possibly. Your nerves are very high. You feel like a need to impress people. It is fun, but it's exhausting. But it's only for like such a short amount of time that like it flies by and you're like, oh, that was so fast. Were you able to work while being in a sorority? YouTube is my job. I do it while being in a sorority. I know a ton of people that have jobs, internships. I feel like most people I know have a job or something like that. You just have to time manage yourself really well. I also did a video talking about literally what it's like being in a sorority, like every event, what it's like throughout the week, what it's like throughout the month, what are all the terms. So I will link that down below. If you guys want to know if you have the time to be in a sorority, I would really recommend checking that video out. Someone said, can you do a college sport and be in a sorority? I get asked this all the time. Yes, you can. I know many people that have. I would just say the one thing is though, you're going to have to miss a lot of sorority events when you're practicing, when you're going to games. Can you join a sorority without going to college? No, you cannot. My sorority, at least, you have to be a full-time student. If you're taking less credits than a full-time student, you can't be in the sorority unless you're a second semester senior and you only need that many credits to graduate. So you can't even be a part-time student and be in a sorority. Do you find it cliquey within your sorority, and how do you feel about diversity? As for cliques, I feel like as a sorority as a whole, I feel like I'm friends with everyone, but I have my best friends that I like hang out with and that I do things outside of the sorority. But if I saw any single girl in my sorority like walking around, I could say hi, I could hug her, I could be like, let's get lunch sometime, you know, like it's not like I'm only friends with this select group of people. They're all my friends, and then I have my best friends. Do you know what I mean? As for diversity, I've touched on this, I feel like multiple times. I feel like Greek life has improved on diversity, but there is still a long way to go. A long way to go. My chapter, and I'm pretty sure almost every chapter at my school and at other schools, would never not let a girl in because of her race, skin tone, ethnicity, anything like that. Whenever we talk about like what do we want to improve on, we're always like, we want more diversity. I feel like a lot of chapters are like that as well. When I was recruiting last year, I would say majority of P&Ms were girls that looked like me. They were white, they were blonde. I have so much white privilege being able to walk into a room like that and seeing girls that look like me. Of course, I compared myself to them, but I never once questioned, will I fit in because of my skin tone, because of my race, because of my ethnicity? Never once did I have to worry about that, and that is my white privilege. I think because of that, a lot of people of color and other races don't rush walking into a room and not seeing girls that look like you, and you're wondering, will I be accepted or will I not be because because of my skin tone. I mean, there's still a long way to go. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve. I think we can get rid of like the legacy process, which puts priority on girls whose parents or like siblings have been in this sorority before, kind of gives white people an advantage. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve diversity, and I think that one thing, we just need to show that we are accepting of all people. And I would like to think that we're doing this, but I think that we can do it a lot better. I would never ever be in a sorority that discriminates against people. I only want to be in a sorority that cares about you as a person and your personality and your heart and your soul, you know what I mean? As for diversity in Greek life, I think that we've improved a lot, but we still have a long way to go. Someone said, not from US sororities honestly seem so strange to me. I'm wondering what the appeal is. Half the comments on my sorority videos are people from other countries being like, what the heck is this thing? I think the appeal is that it's a social club. Essentially, it's nice to find people with the same values as you and people that want the same things in life, and it's just kind of like an easy out to find friends. You can run for positions, which will help your resume. It's a great place to network. Volunteering, you can do that there. Like, there's just a ton of things that you can do. So I think the appeal ultimately is a social life first, but then all the little benefits that come with it. Is it more difficult for sophomores to rush? In my personal opinion, I think that the older you get, the more difficult it will be, and I hope this is not like pushing you away from rushing if you're older, but I do think that you need to understand the reality of it. If you're looking at it from a simply financial aspect, which a sorority is a business, you need to make money to be able to put on these events. A freshman can pay 8 semesters of dues, a sophomore can pay 6 semesters of dues, a junior can pay 4 semesters of dues. The older you get, the less you're paying them, so they would see more of a value in a freshman than a sophomore, if that makes any sense. Also, if you're looking at it from like a housing perspective, in a sorority house, if there is a bed space that's not filled, the sorority has to like cough up the money to pay for that bed that someone should be living in. A freshman is more likely to move into the sorority house going into her sophomore year, but if you rush as a sophomore, you'll be going into your junior year. I feel like majority of people that rush as sophomores don't live in the sorority house, so that's also money that they could be losing. I'm not putting it out there that if you're a sophomore, you're not going to get into a house. There's plenty of people that rushed in my house as sophomores. From a financial aspect, like a freshman might be more desirable, and I think that's just the reality that you need to look at. You probably will still get into a house if you like, but the older you get, like I would say by the time you're a junior, in my PC there was 1 junior, and apparently that was pretty rare for sororities to do that. Also, every single school is different, but just keep in mind that if you're like, I don't know if I want to rush as a freshman or a sophomore, you might have better chances of getting like all your houses back as a freshman if they look at it from just like a simply financial aspect. I also get questions all the time about people who went to community college and then transferred to like a 4-year university when they're a junior. I feel like I know every person in my sorority, and I don't think I know anyone did that rushed as a junior. I think I know someone who went to community college their first year and then rushed as a sophomore, but I don't think I know anyone as a junior who did that. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't think I know anyone in my specific sorority. I'm gonna end the questions here. Don't forget to check out part 2. I will be uploading that soon, and if you haven't entered either of my giveaways, definitely go ahead, do that. It'll be fun, get some free stuff. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.